Hi and welcome to Tales from the Gaming Table. As anybody who's watched some of my videos knows, I'm a fan of Anachrony, a huge fan, and I have all the expansions. So recently, I was able to get the Big Box for Anachrony. And I was able to go from 5 boxes down to 1. Now, the Big Box, though, can be intimidating to some. I'm going to pull everything out and kind of show you how it was packed. Alright, so I fast forwarded ahead, took everything out of the box. As you can see, it is a big box. And they come with an instruction on the tray manual. On the back of it, it shows you the order it goes back in the box. And each one of the trays is actually for a specific component or expansion. So in the bottom, you've got all the Guardians. So you've got a Path of Dominance tray, Path of Salvation tray, the Guardian Council tray, Path of Progress, Path of Harmony, and Path of Unity, and the components that go in it. Then above that, you're going to have your core trays, which have your tokens and all the different things that you play with, the building tiles and all that. And then you've got above that a Fracture of Time tray, Future Imperfect tray, and a base game tray. And then the final layer, it's basically the cards that you use in the game. There's an extra space in the Fractures of Time tray that you can put extra components if you have some like the plastic paradox tiles or the plastic warp tiles. When you're putting this thing back together, it can be challenging, especially if you're not aware of how to identify the different expansions. And I'll get to that in a second, but let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So if I'm looking at the different expansion trays, I've got this, and I have the miniatures too. So in this tray, I put all the pieces in for this particular faction, okay? Underneath the faction marker, it's got all the pieces with it. This particular faction being the Path of Unity. Sorry, the Path of Progress. I'll make sure I get my names right. Path of Progress tray, so it's got all the markers. It's got the cardboard markers, if you're still using those, and then the figures. So all the cards fit nicely in. This goes into the box. Then on top of that, you're going to have the Path of Progress, and you'll have the Path of Harmony tray. Now, there's no difference to these than what you had the first time. Just using the different markers, the different figures, and all those different pieces. All the different things fit into the box the same as everything else. So now, the other thing I should mention is that these also have the markers for one of the expansions because it's specific to the actual factions. Okay, so that's the one thing that doesn't stay in the faction specific, the expansion specific tray. These ones slide into the box. We look like that now. I've kept the cardboard that's between layers because it will protect my plastic. I drop that in, and we move on to the next one. So in the next tray, I've got the other two paths, Path of Dominance, Path of Salvation. I'll drop them in the box. And I kind of changed my order. Normally this would have been in the bottom, but because I usually play with the Automas a lot, I left the Automas above the bottom row and put them in the second row from the bottom. Because with this, I can now play my Automa factions much easier. Now in the Automa tray, it also has the markers. These markers here. That you actually play with these guys, and it has these 3 tokens, okay? Very important, these 3 tokens go in that box with the Guardians of the Council tray, if you will. And this is the one for Kronos and playing solo. Now, there is no other board for this, it's just the cards and stuff. So I'll put this in. And that's the first 2 rows, and they're pretty straightforward. Tricky part comes now when we start filling in the rest of it, okay? So we go to the next page in the book. Actually, this one isn't the tricky one. This is pretty straightforward. Now, if you were like me and you've mixed in your cards for your tiles, your building tiles, you're going to have to separate them back out. You can leave them in there if you want, but there's another tray which the building tiles from the expansions go in. So I've got all my building tiles in this tray, and you notice this tray comes off, building tiles. So you could actually play with that as your set to pull things out of. And then you've got your other tiles here. You've got your Hex Unavailable, Collapsing. Okay, you also have these tiles, which are your Paradox tokens. You have a few extra markers, and you have your victory points. Okay, these all sit into the boxes here. As a whole, This goes into the next row. Then the next tray that comes in is this tray here. Actually, so this tray here, I'm going to do it from bottom up, so if I keep that going, it's going to be this tray next. This tray here covers all of your workers. Again, if you have the expansions, there's an extra worker already here. It still just goes in the worker row, and the breakthrough tiles are separated by the type of breakthrough. So again, this just goes right beside your table, and you can pull things out and play with it much easier than using bin boxes and stuff like I have in the past. The whole tray just comes out, set it by the board, off you go, you're playing. So that's that. That's your workers and your breakthrough tiles. And then the next tile has all of your resources. It has expansion pieces, which aren't necessarily used, and it has your reactors. Okay? So that row, the third row from the bottom, is one you're going to play with a lot, actually. Otherwise, we'll show the inside of the box again before I put this one in. So as you can see, it's filling up nicely. And as I mentioned before, there are some things that I had mixed together because I was playing with the expansions together, and the way that the box is laid out, you actually separate them out. So you might have a little bit of work between to break things in and out. Okay, again, working from the top to the bottom, or bottom to the top. The first one I've got is my Fractions of Time tray. So you'll find your Fractions of Time markers, the projects you work on. You'll have the dice, you'll have the hex tiles, and you'll have the building tiles that you have separated out. Now the building tiles, there's very specific markers on them that shows that this is the expansion they're for. So it's easy to separate them out when you find the markers that are on the tiles, okay? There are a couple of your anomaly tiles. Now in the extra bin, this is the one that has the extra bin. I threw some of the markers that I had from the prior version of the Automa that I played, which was downloaded. And there's one tile like this that has to go into the box. And this is your Error 0 tile, which is used with this particular expansion. So that is your Fractures of Time. Next box is your Future Imperfect. Same thing. There are going to be building tiles. There's going to be the technology tiles. You've got all of your agenda objective tiles. And in here, you've got your hypersync tiles. You've got cards that are required for this expansion. You can see the back on both of them. There's a couple of these bases that you use. And you can see all the Fracture of Time things here. There's some agenda benefits in here. All goes into this tray. So when you're ready to play with the Future Imperfect, you've got everything put together in one box. This is your base game box. You've got your super projects. That's the name I was missing, not technology. Your super projects. You've got the dice from the game. And then you've got your timeline tiles. Okay. Now, there is one mistake in the book, and this is going to be confusing if you have the essential pack like I did. In the book, on page 5, number 24 says there are 12 dual-sided tiles, which includes your impact tile. Well, there's the impact tile. Sorry. There's the impact tile. So I'll drop that in there. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I did reach out to Mind Clash. That is not an error. There are only 9 when you have the essential. So this box really easily just drops right in there. So that particular box and everything in the row below it, that's how you play your base game. What's in your free base game in their boxes. This last one, when we go to the last row here, is your layer 5, and it's got all the various cards that you use in the game. You've got your end game condition cards, you've got your recruit pool and your resource pool cards that you use to set up each session of each turn of the game. And then you've got your starting asset cards if you're using them, and different things like that. So adventure cards, adventure reference cards, things like that. And then here you've got your technology cards. So all your cards from the game will go into this box here. Once you're done with that, I want you to note one thing. There is a cutout on one side and not the other. It goes in a very specific way, so make sure when you put it in. Sorry. I also have my laminated Automa board from the When I was using the downloaded version, I had a laminated version. I'd use that as a divider. So I'll throw this in with the notch facing into the box. And the reason that you do this is your player mats will only fit into this box by sliding into that notch. As you can see, they actually just slide under, okay? Then everything else that goes in gets stacked in. So you've got all of these mats, your scorecards and that will go on top of that. Then you've got these boards. As you can see, different boards, different things, drop into there. And you can see all of that here at the top of the final mat. Then there's just a couple other pieces that go on top, and then all your manuals drop in. And again, because I have all the expansions, I've got the Essential Edition manual, the Chronobot and Chronosis rulebook, I've got Future and Perfect, Fractions of Time, the Classic Expansion Pack, and then obviously the book that comes with this, and the old printout rules for the Chronobot. They slide on top, and you've got a nice organized box. Throw the lid back on, and if you're really an Anachrony fan like I am, you're one happy camper now, because everything's in one box, ready to play when you pull it off the shelf and easy to set up. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully that helps somebody organizing your big box when you try to do it, and look for me next episode.